Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of According to Sacha Podcast. Typically we're with you on Thursday nights, right? 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but every now and then we like to get unplugged and we have a conversations unplugged. And that's what we're doing tonight, right here with you live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or X. Instagram and LinkedIn. And I have a special guest, Umberto Lukama, and he's with the Seeds Project, and he's going to tell you about this phenomenal project, what they're doing in the communities with Black fathers, and the upcoming event they have in June. And I can't wait to bring him up and just let him tell you everything. Before we get started, remember, I want you to like, follow, and share. Like, follow, and share all of our platforms. You know where we are. It's scrolling all down the bottom. We're on video. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeart and all the other streaming platforms that you find your podcasts at. And this episode will be there as well. But I want to thank you for everything. Thank you for always showing up. Thank you for watching, whether it's live now or you're watching evergreen episodes. If you're listening, thank you. Because what you do on this platform and for this platform, you do for everyone else who is on this platform. And our whole goal is to get the word out about their business, about their projects, about who they are and everything to expand their audience. And we all win, right? So thank you so much. And before I go any further, I have nothing to talk about for myself tonight because I really want to get into this conversation. Usually I do. But before I bring up Umberto, I will play a little sponsored content. This episode is brought to you by the Seeds Project and Umberto Lukama. Entrepreneurship, small business, is something that everybody would love to do, making their own money. And this is what we will be talking about on According to Sacha. Good evening, Umberto. How are you?
I'm doing good, Sacha. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight and being on the According to Sacha podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be speaking with you today and share what we got going on and also hearing a few things about yourself.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's have this conversation. First, I'm going to start off with I want you to tell everybody who is Umberto Lukama.
So Umberto Lukama, a visual storyteller and photographer, videographer, director, amongst other things. But my pride is always being a father.
Okay, so you are a videographer, you're in film, and you're a father and everything, all of the above. I like that. So before I get into the Seeds Project, I want to know, like, what is your background as far as with you being a father and how that joy has made you become involved with the Seeds Project?
So my background, I was born and half raised in Congo. I came to the United States in about 2004. I lived in Iowa for a little bit before I decided to move to Phoenix, Arizona. When I was in high school, I had taken a photography class, and that kind of sparked an interest in photography and just learning how to develop photos. And when I moved to Arizona, I didn't know anybody, and I was just trying to get to know people and make some friends. I had picked up a camera, started doing church photography, and that kind of turned into a whole different passion that I developed. And next thing you know, I started networking on Instagram, meeting different models and photographers, videographers, and that's kind of how we started the whole passion of doing photography and videography.
Awesome. And sometimes that's where it starts. Like when you never know what that creative vibe is, in
Right,
you, and to do something that just say, "Oh, this is it." And when you see how it
right.
connects with everything you see around you, it's the beauty that comes out of it. And for myself, I always call myself a creative, analytical creative. Like
Mhm.
I'm very analytic, but I'm very creative, and I love just putting my hands to something good that I can create and just just let my mind just breathe a little bit.
Right.
So I can imagine the joy that you get from just taking pictures and doing photography and videography and bringing stories to life. And so,
Right.
would you say that that has connected you with the Seeds Project and how you've gotten involved with that as well?
Yeah, so the whole idea of seeds started way before I became a father, right? I
Mhm,
had read a scripture that spoke about fathers do not provoke your sons to anger, or that would lead to discouragement, right? And
mhm.
based on my upbringing, not to get too much into it, but I always said to myself, the day I'll become a father, I would make it a point that I'll never speak to my sons in a certain way, or
Mhm.
I would never raise them up in a certain way. And I started kind of like analyzing or studying the Bible and that verse in particular. And one thing that I came to understand was, the words that we say to our kids, and as fathers, I think that kind of becomes the conscience, right? And that's something that kind
Mhm.
of leads the son into what they do.
Yeah.
And hence the word seeds. So what are we planting into the next generation? What are we planting into our sons? And that's kind of how everything started up being tied up into this project.
Awesome, awesome. It's funny that you brought that scripture up. So I remember, I'm gonna tell you a little fun fact in the story.
Yeah.
I remember when I don't know how old I was. I was a teenager. And
Hmm.
we could read the Bible front and back and just say, "Oh, we're gonna start from the beginning to the end and
Right.
everything."
Right.
And one time I found that scripture because we always hear children always honor and obey your parents, for your days shall be
Right.
long.
Right.
So that's all you hear. When I found that part of the scripture that you just quoted, I felt like I found gold. I literally told my mom, "Well, the word says
Yeah.
don't provoke your children to anger."
Mhm.
So, it's funny that you brought it up. And I was like, I always think about that scripture. And I always think about my own story because it does make a difference.
Mhm.
We never really know.
Yeah.
And just in general, whether it's, when we're talking about the scriptures, we're talking about the word, but then
Yeah.
also in everyday life as well, we always want to show the better sides of ourselves to our children. Now, we have a way of disciplining, every family is different, right? And
Yeah.
but when you incorporate the gentleness, along
Mm.
with the firmness, and that's
Right.
necessarily like beating something out of a child or anything like that. Like,
Right.
not about any families, you guys. I am not talking about anybody, you guys. Please don't take offense. But like I said, we all have our own disciplinary styles.
Yeah.
But when you do that, how do you give that child the opportunity to see what it is that they're doing, to also
Hmm.
process what it is, and can
Hmm.
feel the love behind the disciplinary actions that you do give?
Yeah.
And so I really think that, and I commend you for looking at it from that point of view, because as a father,
Mhm.
especially as a Black father, words and the way we say things can really bring down a child and diminish their
Exactly.
character or anything like
Hmm.
that. So for you to say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do and make the
Yeah.
difference,"
Hmm.
and you're doing that. And so now, would you say that's the mission of the Seeds Project as well?
Well, the mission is to, for Black fathers and Black figures to become positive role models and change makers in their families and communities. Now, how do we go about, doing so?
Mhm.
One thing that I've came to learn while, doing this project is I've noticed that, women, you guys empower each other. You're
Yeah.
able to share information. You come together, you share informations. And I realize that as men, we don't really do that. It's very often that we share information or even are willing to come together and be able to share information, right? And I
Mhm.
think something that needs to change, or I'm hoping that can change, is as Black men we can come together and try to share resources. There was a post on Facebook. I believe someone was looking for a therapist, and they said, "Oh, I'm looking for a Black therapist specifically." And then
Okay.
underneath that post, it was, "Oh man, me too, bro. Okay, following." And I thought that was just beautiful, be able to see people kind of like sharing informations and also sharing like therapists, because again, everything kind of starts from, the upbringing. What are we
Mhm.
doing to change? And, once I became a father, one thing that really started sticking out to me is just kind of seeing myself in my sons and just seeing the joy, the purity, and things that I once used to have. Now,
Yeah.
almost like I'm healing myself through them, but also kind of seeing a different perspective of how I was as a child.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really good when you see that perspective of yourself.
Yeah.
And, and a lot of times our perspectives are shaped by our environment
Yes.
and families or communities and so forth. And, when you can actually self-reflect in
Yes.
that and say, okay, well, you know what? Okay, I can change this. I can adjust this because, like you said, you're going through healing yourself just by
Right.
being a different person than what
Right.
you're, experienced in the past.
Mhm.
So, can you tell me or share a particular moving or inspiring story from your experience with the documentary in the art installation for Seeds Project?
Yeah, so having to hear different perspective from different fathers, different stages of life. We've sat down with fathers that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and just hear their
Mhm.
perspective. And someone could be in their 40s and they just have maybe a 2-year-old, or they could be in the
Mhm.
60s and have a 10-year-old or 18 or 24. And I think it's very important to kind of hear those stories. And as a young father like myself, I'm always looking for ways to learn to be a better father, because there isn't really a book on how to be a parent, right? So I think one thing that has been exciting is just be able to sit down and hear different perspective from different fathers and different generations.
Yeah, yeah. I like that when you said the different generations because it makes a
Right.
difference. Because, sometimes, in some cases, the younger don't really always want to hear from the older, and then the older are always like,
Exactly.
no, wait, I've been here, done that. There's nothing you could tell me, right?
Yeah.
But when you have people, the fathers coming together, representing the different generations, and
Yeah.
even the ages of their children to be
Hmm.
able to share and to grow. That
Right.
sharing and
Right.
community aspect of everything helps you to grow. And, and I would just play on even the words of the project. That's how seeds are dropped.
Exactly.
Seeds are given and the opportunities to learn and to
Hmm.
apply and all those things. And then that's a phenomenal thing. And
Yeah.
so, like, do you bring like the different fathers from different states or communities, or they're kind of like all in the Phoenix area or elsewhere?
So they're all kind of in the Phoenix area. Although I did have a chance to speak to a older gentleman, and I really wanted to sit down with him and hear his story based on the conversation that we had. And
Mhm.
he was actually the one that kind of raised up the point of women get together and share resources, but as men we don't. And he was an older gentleman, so him saying that to me was kind of like, it was very striking to hear that that point of view. And so I would, we would hope to kind of reach out the larger areas of Phoenix, and go across states with the project.
Yeah. So since we're talking about you and doing the videography and capturing the stories and so forth, like what is your approach with capturing, the stories and the experiences of the Black fathers and their families?
Yeah, so most of the time we haven't been shown the best light
Mhm.
when it comes to fatherhood and marriage per se. A lot of times they say that fathers are not in, they're not in their homes or they're leaving their kids. But I feel like
Yeah.
my generation, we're kind of making a point to stay in the kids' life and go to their games, even to the point of, staying up all night with the kids, changing the diapers,
Yeah.
taking them to doctor's appointment, making sure that we're actually making an impact. Because again, everything starts from day one. You
Yeah.
have to build that connection with your child from day one. Once you lose that connection, then it's very hard to try to get that back, because they go on and formulate their own identity without you. And whenever you try
Mhm.
to come back into that life, it's hard, because who are you to tell me what to do if you were not there for me, you know, from the
Yeah.
times that I needed you? Although we all
Mhm.
go through our own trials and tribulations. So I think it's very important to highlight the beginning stage and how we can formulate a proper foundation between a father and a son, or a father and a daughter.
Wow, I love that. I love that. That proper foundation is
Yeah.
everything. And I know we talked about like the sons, fathers and the
Yeah,
sons, but even for the daughters, I mean, it really makes a big difference for a daughter
definitely.
to know, how to positively be, loved and cared for by their father. There's so many people have different stories, different experiences, different upbringings and so forth. But, there's something about when the father is there in the
Yeah.
child's life, impact that they actually make. And I think that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. I think about, the daddy daughter dances and,
Mhm.
and then just go out, or the father is really out there just encouraging and being a part of their son's lives. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. So were there any challenging or rewarding moments with while you're filming and doing the videography as well as the photography for the program?
I think the most challenging was trying to find individuals to participate and also trying to convey the message and, on trying to tell them this is way bigger than what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Because it may just seem like you coming in talking to us and then after that you go home. But really, we're trying to impact someone who has a dream. If I have a dream, I see someone else that's doing the dream that I've been dreaming of, it kind of
Right.
encourages me to kind of go for it. And I think that's very important to share these stories because there's someone out there that needs to hear this, someone that needs to see us doing these things because, again, we're trying to pour into the next generation and we have to make um, our part and do an impact.
That's awesome. And hi, Ron. How are you? Ron Clark. He had a comment here.
Oh yeah,
Father is a role model for a son and relationship model for a daughter. I love
yes,
that. Ron Clark is he's been part of a fatherhood initiative for years, and that
okay.
might be a good connection for you guys in this project. But um, yeah, I'm happy to see you here, Ron. Thank you for showing up. And but yeah, those are really great points. And like you said, it's that rewarding factor of even when you have the challenging parts of finding fathers, to be
Yeah,
a part of it. But the rewarding part of it can overshadow anything because a lot of times I always look at the people who are the ones who are part of something may
yeah,
have been the ones that was supposed to have been a part of it in the first place, you
right.
know, and it's the impact that will come out of it. And that's the part that makes a difference, like you mentioned. And but you're a father now, right? How many
Yes.
kids do you have?
So I have two boys.
Two boys.
Yes.
So how do you balance being this creative mind, photography, videography? So how do you balance that with your family life and your kids?
See, I have a great partner that has allowed me to really, reach out for my dreams. And
Mm,
I think that has been the greatest gift I could ever have. Because, when we were dating, is one thing I told her, I said, being creative, that's kind of what gives me life. This
mhm.
this is something that drives me. It's very important that I don't lose this. And
Yes.
a lot of times people get in a relationship, they start losing themselves. And she kind of like pushed me to go find myself even more. And that's kind of how Seed was also kind of founded because she's allowed that room for me to go out and chase the dream, but also most importantly, she believes in the dream that what we're doing is way bigger than just me and her or you. It's for the future, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for, especially having two boys myself. I think it's very
Yeah.
important for them to not only just see what I'm doing. A lot of times, as men, we say what we want to do, but we never do what we say we're going to do. And
Yeah.
having sons has really kind of kept me accountable for my words and
Mhm.
what I tell them I'm going to do. And at a young age, again, it's very important that they see these things.
That's awesome. And your kid's gonna hold you to it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you were like, look, Dad, remember when you said, I know I have a daughter, and I know we talk about fathers right now, but kids are
Yeah.
kids. And my
Oh yeah.
daughter used to always say, Mommy, remember when you said that we can go X, Y, Z? Don't ever renege. Don't renege on that. Like in space, you renege on stuff. No, don't
Right.
renege on your kids because they are
They were
going
gonna
to
go to the park.
remember.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So, and I love how you are. First of all, I want to say I just want to commend your wonderful partner, because it does take for someone else to see your vision to
Right.
allow you to be in your vision,
Right.
but then they're a big part of it because they're not holding you back.
Right.
And there's so many times somebody can say, "Oh no, I understand you might have this, but you have a
Mhm.
family, you have kids. Do this first, and then go be
Yeah.
creative." But she's really releasing you to be the
Yeah.
best person you are, and that helps you to even bring that goodness and the best part of who you are back into your
Right.
family.
And
And I know we
just
talk about fathers, but go ahead into that. I thought I was going to segue to that part.
no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to add one more thing, and it's all about having a great partner, but also kind of being disciplined in what you're doing. because a lot of times we're kind of playing with our dreams, our
Mm,
desires, things that we want to do. And
yes.
if you have someone that's giving you that room for you to grow in or expand in, I think it's very important to not let that time go to waste,
Yeah.
because then you're kind of doing the disservice to your partner or the person that's encouraging you, because they have to see that the things that I am making room for has to grow. And I just wanted to highlight that.
Oh yeah, and that's so important. And thank you for
Yeah.
highlighting that. And no, you didn't cut me off at all. That's perfectly fine. That's why we have conversations, right? So, you know, we talked about family, we talked about Black fathers and so forth. We
Mhm,
talked about fatherhood. Now, with today's society,
mhm.
how essential is this program or this project, empowering Black fathers as father figures? How essential is it in today's society right now?
It's very, 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 very important, because there is a lot of men that are walking around. They're feeling very underappreciated, tired, thinking about, as a father, things that I'm most thinking about is, okay, how can I make more time for my kids? How can I make more time for my wife? Okay, how can I make more money so we can have this? I'm always thinking about ways to provide, right? So I think it's very important to be around a group of men that are in a brotherhood, essentially, right? That are encouraging you. Today, I had a conversation with one of my friends, and he just kind of called me out the blue, and he gave me a scripture in Second Timothy 1, chapter 1, verse 6, how it talks about fan into your gift, and
Mm,
don't be fear. Don't, God don't give us a spirit of fear, because, to just have a transparent moment, I was feeling very anxious about the conversation that we'll have and how things will go. And
mhm,
that scripture that he gave me really kind of gave me the confidence. And not only that, but he empowered me to
mhm.
come here and speak. And I think that's kind of what it's important to have, that foundation, have a brotherhood that are ready to encourage you and empower you.
Yeah, yeah, that's so important. And are you saying you were, kind of anxious about this conversation?
Yeah, because sometimes when you gotta talk to people,
Yeah.
you have a little jitters, which is good. I was telling my program manager that I'm feeling a little bit, anxious, but she had mentioned that, that means you care and you want things to kind
Yeah.
of go well, and that's what we're trying to do. That, the seeds is successful in what we do, and we're able to change at least one person's life.
Absolutely. And I hope that it really does, because it's by this conversation tonight, anybody that's watching right now, definitely go
Yeah,
support this project and share about it, because from our conversation is very important.
yeah,
And the foundations that you're building with this, and how you wanted to impact the
yes,
lives of so many different fathers, not just here nationally but worldwide. And I
right.
hope that you really do, and go forward in that. And so with the project, the message, what is the message of hope? Like, what is that message of hope, to the Black fathers and families, as well as a broader
Hmm.
community that you want to share?
I think the message of hope is, the seeds tomorrow, the seeds that we want to plant today for tomorrow starts today. You can't wait on ideas or on things that you want to do for your community, for people that look like you, that walk like you, and talk like you. It's very important that, we put our best foot forward, and continue to just speak life and positivity in what we do, because the world is already hard enough. And it's important that, we surround ourselves with individuals that are, like-minded, and are also, positive in what they're doing, because we need to make a change. Our kids needs us to make a change. The older generation did what they could. It is up to us now to carry the baton and, do what we can do, so that our kids don't have to struggle, with the same things that we struggled for.
That's good. That's really good. And that's what legacy is all about,
Right.
And when you're growing that, and like you said, you don't want to put the same struggles in front of your kids that you went to. Every
Right.
generation should be greater. Like your
Right.
kids be greater than you, and your grandkids will be better than your kids, and so forth. And really, that's how it really should go.
Hmm.
And we see those impacts within our communities, within the world, but then we also see other things. But I feel like with your project, it is that changing force that can
Yes.
get out there in the midst of so many other programs that are out there doing the great things, but
Hmm.
and really still build up the communities, build up the family, build up the fathers, And that's the big part about it, is building up the men.
Absolutely.
So, and allowing them to feel like they can be transparent. And I think
Yeah.
with you being here tonight and people watching and listening to you, and just like
Yeah.
Ron Clark said, you're doing incredibly well.
Thank you.
And you would never know you had the jitters and anything like that. But
Right.
for you being transparent and being here for the project, you're also encouraging so many other men, not even within the documentary that you talked to, those they were out there ready to encourage everybody else, but you're here
Right.
to encourage, and people and men can see like, oh wow, I can, be transparent. I can be vulnerable. I can be
Clear.
this good father. I can be everything that I didn't think I can be, you know,
Yes.
and I really commend you for that. And so tell me, what's next for the Seeds Project? How can people get involved with the mission?
Yeah, so if you would like to get involved with the mission, please follow us on Instagram, Seeds Project 16. You can also send us an email if you're interested at seedsproject16@gmail.com. What's next is we're planning on doing also a back to school drive. Really want to be a positive force in the community, be able to change kids' life, because if we can change, one child's life, then we're at least doing something right. And as far as transparency, to add on to what you said was, a lot of people will connect or feel more with your weaknesses than they would with your strengths. So I think it's very important to, let's not be afraid to speak about the things that we're struggling with. Let's not be afraid to lean onto one another for support, because the world that we used to live in, where you had to be macho and stand on what you want to say, and that sort of thing, they're not bad, but I think it's important to soften up a little bit, and let's talk.
That's wonderful. That's the big part. Soften up. Sometimes you got to get through. Some men have the brick wall. No offense, fellas,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
sometimes you got a brick wall. So even not just for us women, but
yeah,
for other men, because it once again is about that environment. It's about
yeah.
how the family life was and so forth, and and it's just some men are just like, hey, look, I'm that macho man. I'm not
Right.
supposed to be soft. I'm not supposed to cry. I'm not all these things, but you were built with emotions too. You were equipped with all of that. We're human. So,
Right.
I really think that that's really important. So now with the project, you said there's a back to school event. Is that the same event as on June 16th, or is that something
No,
different?
that would be something different. The event on June 16th, we'll be showcasing the documentary that we've shot, and also, we're hoping to hear from different generation of fathers, giving advice to young fathers like myself, and understanding what are the things that we can overcome, what are the things that we need to look out for, because at the end of the day, teenagers are teenagers, and fathers will do great things, and this is a special day for your dad. It will showcase on Father's Day.
Mhm.
So, if you gotta, you and your father, you want to bring him out. A lot of times on Father's Day, man, we get socks and stuff like that. So this will be a great opportunity for you to get something great for your father, and he will appreciate it to be able to sit down amongst men and hear great stories, and maybe it'll remind him of something that he would like to share with you.
That's awesome. Now, the showcasing of the Seeds Project in the documentary, is that going to be in Arizona as well, in Phoenix, or are you live streaming it as well?
First, we're going to showcase it in Arizona.
Okay.
Hopefully, we can live stream it. I guess that kind of depends on the demand of the people,
Mhm.
and we'll also put it on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, I believe, as well too.
Well, I hope you can put it on Netflix. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Hey, we
'Cause
received
I
it.
believe your skills are like, Netflix worthy, theater
Right,
worthy. So I'm gonna go ahead and just say, hopefully you get the Netflix. I mean, because they put everything else up there, all other
right.
documentaries. So why not? Amazon Prime, something like that. Go ahead,
Let's
go
speak
beyond.
it into existence.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and then once again, everybody, in definitely support the mission. Follow them. He put out the email address as well. And let me go ahead and get that one more time. I'm gonna put that in the chat. What's the email
Okay.
address?
So the email address is seedsproject16@gmail.com.
Seedsproject16 at gmail.com, you guys. All right.
Definitely.
So make sure Make sure I spelled it right. Okay. Yes. Make sure you go and support the mission. Definitely connect with Umberto on Instagram, the Siege Project on Instagram. Support them, and then also just just be ready to see, all the things that they're going to do throughout the years in the future. Like, what
Mhm.
is the future goal for Siege Project? Like, what else are you going to do?
The future goal is to, eventually have young men also participate. The kids of the future, and something along the lines of leaders of tomorrow. We need them. We need them to kind of, also see us doing good in community. I think is very important because you know back in the day we used to see like we used to see men going to church with their families, taking their kids here and there. So eventually, we're going to turn this. This will be a 501c, a nonprofit organization, and we'll be able to serve the community. And we want to see a change. And again, it starts with us.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you guys, this is about to be a true mission to come. So just know that you saw it here in the beginning stages, right here on According to Sasha podcast, Unplugged. I'm so glad we had this unplugged conversation because it's been so rewarding. And I hope that everyone has enjoyed this conversation. And once again, you guys go follow Umberto, follow Seeds Project, keep up with it. Any final words that you like to give to the people out there?
Yeah, if you have any dream, if you have a dream, go after it, right? A lot of times we hear this like if you have a dream, you have to go after it. No one is going to go after it for yourself, and don't think the next man or someone that's doing something is better than you or feel intimidated by them. Go and ask them, how can I do what you're doing? Be a mentor. Find mentors around you. People, there's a ton of people that's willing to teach people the stuff that they know, and we just have to go and ask, and that's what I'll leave it at.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you again for being here tonight. This has been a joy. I truly enjoyed this conversation. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you, everybody, for watching on the Unplugged night here on a Monday. I will not be back with you until next week. On next Thursday, we'll have another episode on our regular day, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another guest. And remember to be great in everything you do, command your day. And I will see you next time, you guys. Bye.